So today we are talking about, once again, real estate in the Turks and Caicos Island, and it's just a market report, just giving you an update of what have been happening and where the market is at this particular time. So the information that is going to be relayed today comes from stats from the Turks and Caicos Real Estate Association portal. Just so you know, this segment is not a representation of the Real Estate Association. That's my disclaimer. Therefore, you must use this information for your guidance only. As well as I would say there are or maybe additional stats that may not be recorded that I'm privy to. So of course we have to take that into consideration. Okay, because there are private sales that happens from time to time that may not be recorded in our database. So I would not have knowledge of that. So this information is definitely for your guidance only. Okay, so basically there are so many ways in which you can go through and dissect a market report. And each time I come before you, I try to do it a little bit different so we can take it from another angle. So today I have chosen to give you a summary of the total sales based on islands from the year of 2019 to 2022, which is current. And also at the end of this presentation, I'm also going to just give you a brief snippet of what the market is in the third quarter, because we are in the third quarter of 2022, so you could know what properties are doing just specifically to this third quarter. Okay? So basically, property ownership on the sister islands have become of interest to investors, and therefore I see the need to shed some light not only on Providenciales this time, but the entire Turks and Caicos Islands. This way we can get a better understanding of the market straight across the real estate platform. I'm sure you may feel the same way about it, that the sister islands need to be shed light on, and I'm sure that you would know or can see, but we'll see even further today, that these islands have become of interest to investors, okay? So the reason for starting the report from 2019 is because this was the time just before COVID, of course, the pandemic, when the market in the Turks and Caicos Islands was at its all-time high, right? So therefore, we can compare it from the high peak through the supposedly drought that's in 2020 when not much was happening, and see how it has climbed up to current, which is 2022. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to just display a few charts, and then afterwards, so as I speak, and then we can see what the market is actually doing. All right, so my screen is shared. I am hoping that you can see clearly what is on the screen. It obviously just says Turks and Caicos market update, right? And like I said, we're going to be going from island to island just to give an understanding, a comparable as to what has been happening in total sales on all of these islands from 2019 to 2022, okay? So basically, just a little bit about North Caicos. I know we're familiar with the islands, but just a little bit about each island, and then we go right into the stats as we tackle each island step by step. So North Caicos is the second largest island within the Turks and Caicos chain, and like all the islands, the people are friendly, and the soil is great for farming on a small and commercial scale. So the island is very quiet and is accessible by a ferry service, one which we all enjoy. Land prices are comparatively low and has a lot of larger tract of lands that are very good for development. So the government has actually recently signed an MOU with for the improvement of the North Caicos Airport. And also one of the newest talk on North Caicos is that the newest condominium and residential resort development, which is a Sandy Point Resort development, they have began promoting sales, which would impact the sales of on the island of North Caicos in the near future. So even though we're looking at these stats, you may say some of the numbers are relatively low compared to Providenciales. In the future, I believe that these numbers will even increase more because of this new groundbreaking development. All right, so basically the chart is showing you for the North Caicos Island that in 2019, you can see that there is, an increase each year in unit sales as well as in sales volume, right? Surprisingly, even in 2020, during the time of COVID and uncertainty, the sales actually increased. So I just want to show you this chart is very, I think it's very straightforward. You can see from 2019, where in terms of unit count, I like to go with the numbers, unit count, you can see we had about 10 sales, 10 properties that have sold. 2022, there were 11 properties. 2021, there were 28 properties. And in 2022, so far, you've actually had 44 properties that have sold on the island of North Caicos. So basically, it has grown from 10 properties being sold in 2019 to 44 in 2022, which shows you that a significant increase. Even though the volume in terms of unit may seems a little bit low, when you think about the percentage and the ratio, you can see that this is a dramatic increase for North Caicos, and this is obviously a good thing for the island and show you that people are now investing and have more confidence in investing on the island of North Caicos. Okay? So that's North Caicos for right now. We're going to circle back. So this is showing greater growth in North Caicos. So if you're looking to purchase in North Caicos, it's showing you, this chart can show you that there is movement on the island of North Caicos, definitely. From 2019, which like I said, was a really good year for the Turks and Caicos generally. When you compare to 2022, North Caicos has already had 44 sales. And remember, we're only in the fourth quarter, and you're going to hear me say that a few times because we are at the beginning of the fourth quarter, which means that there is a lot of room, and we're going to be entering into the high season. So there's a lot of room for more sales to happen. So I think that North Caicos is off to a very good start. And this is a very good chart to show you how North Caicos is taking off. Okay? Middle Caicos, which is right next to North Caicos. Of course, Middle Caicos is the largest island within the Turks and Caicos Islands chain, and it has a smaller population, yet a dynamic cave system, and boasting of, in my opinion, one of the world's wonders, one of the wonders of the world, which is the Mujanhava Cave area and the Dragon Key. Middle Caicos is also accessible via boat. So Middle Caicos did not perform well in 2022, but obviously it picked up in 2021 and of course in 2022. Even though the charts show that like the sales have gone down compared to 2021, remember again, we are only at the beginning of the fourth quarter, right? But currently, in the third quarter, it had, we are currently in the third quarter and has a unit sale of 8 properties. So 8 properties have sold, and there are 5 properties that are currently under contract, therefore showing yet again an increase in unit count for Middle Caicos compared to the other years. So if we add those that are under contract, those properties that are under contract for 2022, this number actually will increase. Of course, I cannot record it as yet because it's under contract, but Middle Caicos will be showing an increase in sales volume, both in number unit as well as in volume for 2022. So again, it is showing you that all of our islands are moving, okay? South Caicos. South Caicos is, of course, the fishing capital of the Turks and Caicos Islands, and the CMK Group, which is from Chicago, they have actually ownership of about 2,400 acres of land and have developed a world-class, low-density development comprising of single-family and multi-family residential properties. The reason I'm mentioning this is because the majority of the sales within South Caicos are within this Sail Rock development that has happened on the island, okay? So the majority of sale came as a result of this multi-family and single-family residential development that has been with the Sail Rock development, okay? So basically, South Caicos has less sales in unit count over the period, right? However, when you look on 2020, you can see that there weren't any sales there weren't any sales in South Caicos, right? 2021, of course, sales had picked up, right? And of course, in 2022, we already have 4 sales that for the year. But there are 2 pending, which will bring the total sales up to 6, keeping the trend on an even platform. So of course, there is potential for more sales before the end of the 4th quarter. So basically what this is showing, just to reiterate again, 2019 was very good for South Caicos in terms of sales. 2020, of course, this is a pandemic. Nothing was actually moving on South Caicos. 2021, sales actually picked up and did very well. 2022, this shows another increase. Again, like I said, this time in 2021, yes, I'm just looking at my stats on my paper. In 2021, there were a total of 6 sales. In 2022, we have 4 sales, but we also have actually a few additional sales that are under contract at this time, which will bring this number up to even it off for the sales in South Caicos so far. We're only in the 3rd quarter, but that leaves a lot more room for an increase in sales over this next quarter. Hope I'm not speaking too fast. Grand Turk. Grand Turk obviously is the capital of the island where most of the businesses are government entities. It is also home to the Carnival Cruise Port, and Grand Turk has larger resorts and more Airbnb accommodation. Travel to the island is obviously via the local air carriers, right? So in terms of sales on Grand Turk, sales in Grand Turk in 2019 was very good. In 2020, I think they did exceptionally well, even though the sales were a bit lower. And of course, like we've been saying before, that it was expected during COVID, but still did very good, right? So this year, so 2021, you had sales that were increased to 17. And now so far for this year, we have had 15 properties that have sold on Grand Turk. So this year is a total volume by count of 15 properties, and there is actually an additional 13 transactions that are under contract at this time and will be closed even before the last quarter finishes, bringing the sales up to 28 properties that have been sold. So with the 4th quarter, of course, just beginning, we can look forward to a further increase when the season picks up by the year end. Remember, this particular part of the is just to show you the trend of how properties have increased or what has happened with properties since 2019 to 2022. And again, these may be low numbers when you're talking about the outer islands, but compared to Providenciales, where there's more inventory, and that's why the numbers are way less. But you can tell that movement is happening on the island of Grand Turk, and more people are buying and investing on the island. So I just want to repeat again, in 2019, right at the top here, I actually have the volume in terms of total sales volume. But this is also just showing you how many properties the unit base have sold. So in 2019, there were 18 properties sold. 2020, 13 properties sold. 2021, 17 properties sold. And 2022, we have 15 with an additional 13 that are under contracts, which will bring it up to 28 properties that have been sold even before this 4th quarter, which is doing really good. Okay? So before I get into Providenciales, I just want to say, so overall, based on these numbers we have seen so far, it is saying to me that North Caicos at the top here, you can see this steady growth. North Caicos has seen the most significant growth thus far in terms, with the exception of Providenciales, like I say, we'll get to that. But North Caicos has shown the most significant growth so far, right? And this is a good reason, to embrace the competitive pricing on these islands before they increase. But North Caicos have seen the most significant growth over all the islands combined, right, with a total of 44 sales and even a higher sales value in terms of income, right? So North Caicos, kudos to you. You've been doing so well. Continue to do well. Properties on North Caicos. So I just want to slide down here and we're going to go into Providenciales. So of course you can see these numbers are much different compared to the other islands. So in 2019 in Providenciales, you can see that there were 305 properties that were sold, okay? And 2020, 293 properties that were sold. 2021, 514 properties that were sold. You can see how it has skyrocketed. You know, 2019 and 2020 were very closely related in terms of sales, unit sales, and in terms of total volume, price, right? And of course, we've said again, I think that Providenciales has outdone itself in terms of when we thought that the market would have really tanked, it didn't. It shows that we still have a strong economy. We still have investors who have confidence in investing in Providenciales and the Turks and Caicos Islands because of the product that we offer. So it shows you that we performed very well in 2020, despite the fact that you know, we were immobile, we were under lockdown and restrictions, things did go well, right? In 2021, the market had a complete rebound here with a substantive, like I said, 514 units sold and the sales volume of over $710 million. So this year, 2022, we are actually at a sales volume in terms of unit sales of 336 sales. And guess what? We currently have 241 units that are actually under contract. That will bring it up to a total of 577 sales. Again, this is only the fourth quarter, has only just started. Therefore, we know that sales is expected to be even greater as the high season begin. So Providenciales, I think, has really held its ground over the past few years from 2019 up to current. Again, just to say, we thought 2019 was a very strong year at that time, and it proved that, you know, we are resilient. 2020 was also a strong year. 2021, we have really skyrocketed, and you can see it from here in terms of unit count as well as sales volume. And then in 2022, we intend to do the same thing. So this line here will actually be right at the same level and even higher at the end of the fourth quarter. And once all of those listings that are under contract have actually closed. So Providenciales is really doing well, okay? So, and this last chart I want to share with you is just the total sales island-wide, but this is just for the third quarter, because I did promise that I would just share just a light because it's the third quarter in the market, just to show you what's happening. Now, unfortunately, this is showing you just a breakdown of single-family homes, vacant land, condos, and townhomes, right? I've grouped it that way. And this line here is actually for 2021, and this bluer line here is for 2022. So this time last year is actually saying that we had more sales that came through, and this was island-wide. Total, all islands, Providenciales, North, South Caicos, Middle Caicos, we had more sales last year during the third quarter. So of course, you're going to compare last third quarter to this third quarter, just so it can be on a level playing field. So that had went straight across the board in terms of single family home, vacant land, and townhomes. I'm hoping that I'm clear on what I am saying, right? Now, there has been a shortage in inventory, so this could be as a result of what has happened. However, I think that overall, really sales rate, the sales rate has not, overall sales, not just comparing the quarter, but if we would have seen how when we went about sales in Providenciales alone and all of these islands, it showed you that the sales, total sales across the island for 2022 for each island has actually increased. So even though the third quarter is not showing where we have surpassed last third quarter, overall sales within the island have significantly increased. All right. For me, this is an indication that there is still a high interest in property ownership in the Turks and Caicos Islands. I hope that I was clear on what I was saying to you about the sales within the islands. And this, I hope that this information actually gives you an idea actually of, you know, what to expect, what to look forward to, how you can see sales moving within each of these islands. You know, doing real estate, we normally get the questions, you know, should I invest in North Caicos? Should I invest in Grand Turk? Are people buying on the islands? Whatever. Each of these charts, I think, is showing you that persons are buying, right? Of course, not as much as people are buying in Providenciales. And of course, I think there are different reasons for that, and everyone have their own reasons. But at the same time, the outer islands, I feel like it's still a good opportunity to tap into them, because now more people are buying into, and new projects are becoming available within all of these outer islands. And that's going to create, you know, a higher increase for these islands and a higher demand for the product. And so once you have a greater demand, of course, prices will increase. Again, I'm so proud of North Caicos, who you can see all they have been doing is just increasing in unit count as well as in total sales volume since 2019 to 2022, right? So this is, just stop sharing for a minute. So that's basically the charts that I wanted to share with you today. Of course, the show is only for a few minutes, and if there aren't any questions or any comments, I'm not just going to talk all day, because the main idea is just to get the information to you so that you can know how to make a responsible real estate investment in the Turks and Caicos Islands. Of course, if you want further breakdown, like I said, the market report could have been broken down into additional sector segments. You know, there may be other things you wanted to see, but it makes no sense breaking it down if it's not relevant to what you are looking for. So I thought that the easiest and most straightforward way to see what's happening in the market was to be able to track, to show you how real estate sales, they have increased from 2019 up to 2022 on the different islands. Okay, do you have any questions, any comments? If not, I want to say again, thank you always for listening to Let's Talk TCI Real Estate. It's always a pleasure to be in your home, and I love to talk real estate, and trust me, I can talk nonstop. But that's it for today, and until next time, I say to you, stay safe and remain blessed. Have a really, really fantastic evening.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on this show belong solely to Let's Talk TCI Real Estate, and not that of Keller Williams TCI or any of its affiliates. Any action you take upon the information provided on this show is strictly at your own risk, and Let's Talk TCI Real Estate guest or host will not be liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of the material. I am not an investment advisor, broker, or dealer.